Welcome to the Zag Talk Podcast Live. My name is Guy Danhoff. We want to welcome you tonight as we're going to talk about the power of social media for advocacy and marketing. And I'm going to be joined tonight with Megan Peterman. And Megan, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I am amazing tonight. We've got a great topic. We've got some great people joining us, so I cannot wait to jump into this. I think it's going to be a really useful session for people.
Well, it really is. And I just want to start by saying I'm so grateful that Kendall Hunt Publishing has decided to sponsor tonight's Zag Talk Podcast Live. And with that, why don't we go ahead and I'd like to introduce you to everyone so people get a little bit more about you.
Absolutely.
So for all our viewers, what's really cool is Megan happens to be the marketing communication specialist at Kendall Hunt. And also she manages the social media for Kendall Hunt in the higher education. And Megan, again, it's just been such a delight getting to know you through this process as we've been preparing for tonight's podcast.
Well, thanks very much. I've really enjoyed it. And just to kind of, get a little casual here with everyone. Kind of a fun fact about me is that when I'm not, creating and deploying marketing campaigns, you can usually find me with a viola in my hand. And if you don't know what a viola is, it's basically the chonky cousin of a violin. So private teacher, like playing a string quartet, symphony, kind of a classical music geek for you. But Guy, I'm gonna take the wheel here, and I'm gonna introduce you, if you don't mind. Now, Guy is the co-author of Zagging: Building Advocacy Through Social Media. He's the host of Zag Talk Podcast Live. He's digital media strategist for multiple organizations: Shape America, Missouri Healthy Schools, and the Sport Management Worldwide Career Conference at the NFL Combine. He's the Most Shape president-elect, broadcaster, and educator, and I'm kind of wondering if there's any sort of fun facts about you you'd be willing to share.
Well, I think there is. And I'm going to actually, because he already gave us a shout out, Sean Nevels. Hey, Sean, how are you doing, buddy? I know. Happy Taco Tuesday, Zag Bomb. Well, guess what? When I was on your podcast, you revealed this, and that is that I am an 80s rocker. And you can see right there on the top left, I got the long 80s hair. That's from 1986. And I played football, but I was also a rock guitarist and all that stuff. And the reason why I'm actually showing that image, I just want to show you a very fun way that you can go ahead and use social media on a Throwback Thursday. I actually was doing an interview with the assistant superintendent for a school district. And when I was doing a little social media history, I discovered we had something in common, and that is big hair. So on one of our Throwback Thursdays as promotion, I put that out. As you can imagine, it gained a lot of views. And Megan, there you are. Anything you want to talk about that photo? Because you look like you're so into your instrument and like you could have played for the group Kansas back in the day.
Yeah, we got a pretty little area downtown that we did a photo shoot in about a year ago. But yeah, one of the things I do is I play in a string quartet, and so we were just having a good time walking around downtown and snapping pics. So it was a good day.
All right, so Megan, guess what? This is going to be an awesome night because we got people flowing in from all over. Danielle, yeah, Shred's on the guitar. Thank you, Danielle. She's on the Most Shape Media team. There's Sean, and Sean's got my CD to prove it. And Darcy, hello from Washington State. Oh, that's awesome. And give them these shout outs. There we go. Paul from Virginia. We've got Bobby from Charlotte, North Carolina. Oh, I know this one. Deb Smith, is the session in progress yet? Yes, it is, Deb. We are live. And also a big shout out to Aaron from Bakersfield. So we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And with that, let's go ahead and just start and dive in.
Absolutely. So we've got a pretty diverse audience with us today. I know we have got guys, wonderful people. We've got some Kendall Hunt authors with us. Hey, Susan, good to see you. But yeah, case in point, we've got some Kendall Hunt authors with us today. But the thing that I think everyone has in common is you've created something. You have authored a book. you have maybe hosted a podcast, or you're maybe advocating for a cause, or you're the leader of an organization. And so that one thing that everyone has in common is you want to get the word out. You want to take the good work that you are already doing and make it known to the world. And so, as you may have guessed, our answer for that today is social media. It is an extremely powerful advocacy and awareness tool. It's a way to get eyeballs. It's a billboard without having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to have a billboard on the side of the road. It's fast and easy. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. If you've got a strategy, it doesn't have to take hours and hours and hours to do. A little bit of planning will go a really long way. And it's also very cost effective. You can run ads, you can do a little investment there, but also just investing a little bit of your time is also going to be tremendously impactful. And speaking of impact, Guy, you've got a lot of personal experience of just seeing how widely impactful social media can be, particularly for advocacy purposes.
Absolutely. So what I want to start with is something that actually got me into beginning to even begin thinking about writing a book on advocacy. And it began actually when the pandemic began. I was on at that time, I was in charge of the social media for MoShape. And we decided to kick off a campaign called Chalk Your Walk. And what we never could have imagined, we launched that 1 week after the shutdown order. And two teachers came to us, Christy Berry and Anna Forsalito, and they wanted to do something to promote Health Moves Minds, which is a great program that Shape America puts out. And what was great about launching that program is what we want to do is spread kindness and positivity. So what was asked that we could do with this initiative called Chalk Your Walk is we asked people in the health and physical education space if they'd go ahead and chalk up their driveways, take a picture of it, and post it on social media using that hashtag that you see on the screen called Chalk Your Walk. And Megan, this is what's pretty amazing. When we did the results, it's actually in the zagging book. We had responses from 44 states in 3 countries. And at that point, it dawned on us just how powerful of a tool and the amount of impact that you can have just simply spreading love and positivity. And that turned out to be, a launch for us like we never could have imagined. And we're so thankful for so many. Yeah, it kind of started right here. I like that. We have an idea and the rest was history. That's where it kind of all began. And the other thing I want to talk about is let's talk about now talking about short form videos. You already mentioned that I do some work with Missouri Healthy Schools, which is actually funded through an 1801 grant by the CDC. And we've been putting together advocacy videos, which basically highlight school success stories. And what's been really cool about that is we've put out basically 14 videos in the last 14 months. We've averaged one per month. And Megan, listen to this. After our very first video that we put out to celebrate National Teacher Appreciation Week, we were then contacted 5 days later by the CDC to collaborate with a video on them. And the video that we did was about looking at the trend of mental health, not just for students, but now looking at administrators, school staff, and teachers. And that video, when it was launched and then also broadcasted through the channels of the CDC, that it reached over 250,000 views. And that's when you want to start talking about impact. That's when we really realized how something was so darn amazing. And so when you talk about impact, all I can tell you is I can attest to these two things that have just been so remarkable for us to experience and see. So when you talk about impact, there's a lot that you can do with social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about that too is a lot of times we think about social media and kind of ways to grab attention and bring awareness. We think about that as kind of a pushing content. But really, what you're doing is just like you were saying, spreading love, spreading positivity. And that was tremendously effective and impactful. So I think a lot of times taking the social media conversation and reframing it can be really, really beneficial to how you approach it and also the outcome you get from it. But in case you need further convincing, something that social media is great for as well is searchability, being findable, or if you'd like the really technical term, SEO. The reason we've got kind of a big creepy spider web up here is because I like to think about online presence as a web. And the more individual threads your web has, the more places you're located online, the more effective your web is going to be in creating that awareness that you're looking to create. And so social media is just a natural and easy way to give yourself many places where you are located online to start to create that kind of findability effect. Now, Guy, when you were authoring your book, you had a very kind of unique title that played directly into SEO. You want to share about that a little bit?
Absolutely. And again, I'm so grateful to Kendall Hunt that they absolutely agreed when we were talking about the title. And I asked if I could have zagging in the title because the word zagging, the way I mean, it's just an operational definition of disruptive marketing, except through an advocacy lens using digital and social media. But what was really interesting was that when you use it as a hashtag, it comes up in SEO search or search engine optimization as number one. So if someone were to go in and type in zagging, whether it's in social media using that hashtag, it's usually going to be in reference to all the types of trainings or even the book itself, because again, we found something very unique. And so I'm just want to throw that out there to folks that your hashtags do matter very much. And that's why, like I said, I use the word zagging, and it's great for search through hashtags, all as well as looking at a great way to get that message out or get people to learn more about what zagging is pretty instantly.
Mm-hmm. And you brought up a really interesting term, and I'd like to expound on that a little bit, just because it's going to be really fundamental for some of the things we talk about later. You use the term disruptive marketing. Do you want to give kind of a layperson's definition of that?
Well, I think the easiest way of looking at it is when you look at your marketing efforts, you have to understand the number one challenge we all have is we're fighting against the news feed. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this off for a second because I want to just focus on this. And I'll get back to all these amazing people that are on tonight. But disruptive marketing is our greatest challenge is the news feed. And why that is because today there are over 60 billion. I'll say it again. There are over 60 billion posts made every 24 hours. And that's not including the 6 to 10,000 ads that run every 24 hours as well. And so we have to first and foremost gain the attention of our audience. And the only way you're going to be doing that is if you can think very creatively in a disruptive way. That's why it's really important that if you want to get your messages out, you've got to realize you're competing against yourself, but more importantly, you're competing against the news feed of how to grab people's attention. So that's how I look at it, and that's why I look at zagging. That's why the book's called Zagging. It's so that you can take a disruptive approach, so that you can get your message heard. You can get it in front of the right audience, and then also you can look at how you can even do it certainly with call to actions. But that's what we're fighting against today. And one last fun fact is that there are over 4 billion people that are now using social media. That's just under 55% of the world population. So this is no longer, oh, is this just going to be a fad? Are you kidding me? I feel blessed as an author because every 3 to 6 months, all these platforms keep changing. And it gives me, in the space that I am in, a chance to always keep people up to date on the latest updates per platform, as well as the way people are using social media. Like a couple of years ago, long form video was in. Today, you got to be in the short form video game. And I'll just leave you with one last fun, very statistic. Here it is. Megan, you and I were talking about this, that the reason why people should be using video today, short form video under 2 minutes, is simply because videos get shared 1,200% more than images and text combined. So there is no doubt in my mind that depending on your audience and what platform you should be thinking about using, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, it's got to come back to you want to start connecting in an authentic way. And the other thing is also going live like we're doing right now, because I mean, look, we could say something foolish or funny, but the bottom, yeah, I love this. Anna, yeah, yeah, basically, I always say this, and you've heard me say this before, actually referenced in the book, and that is that, we've got to, basically um, look for what's in the noise. There's a lot of noise around us, and can we extract the message from the noise? And that's a very big part of what we do and why social listening is so important. So again, I just want to say this to all those authors that are out there. All I can say is that I can say this, that social media has had a profound impact on my ability to connect with my audiences. And so again, if you're just checking this out for the first time, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Also, to the other audience, I know there's some leaders from all around the country that are proudly supporting and advocating for health and physical education. And I'm so glad you're here, because we want to just continue to give some really good tips and tricks, and certainly some great information on what's going on with social media today. So thanks for asking that question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw too, Linda, you had a really great question of, what is a disruptive approach? And for there, I would say it depends on your audience a little bit. I've seen fast food companies do, things like posting memes, which you might not expect from a company. But also a fast food chain is going to have kind of a more casual audience. Whereas, Kendall Hunt, when we're posting, we've got a very academic audience. And so what counts as casual or unusual for us is going to be much different than what a fast food chain would consider casual. We might not necessarily post memes. For us, it might just be having a conversational tone. And so I would say know your audience, and then decide to do something that is maybe not what that audience would quite expect. That's kind of an example I would give. But moving on here, what I would say too is generally when we talk to people about social media, whether they are absolutely loving it or on board or maybe not quite so sure about it, the phrase social media can be a very charged word. So whatever type of way you're feeling about it, something I would just kind of encourage you with is all it is a platform. There's nothing particularly magical about it. There's nothing particularly scary about it. It is just a place to take the good work that you're already doing, the positive effect that you're already driving in your professional sphere, in your private sphere, in your advocacy sphere, and to make it known so that you continue to take that effect and drive it forward. It's a platform, basically. And so if you're wondering where to start, like again, Linda, that was such a good question. Where do you start? Just kind of like the general rules of advertising and awareness. Go where the people are. Take what you're doing, your mission, and find out where those people live. If you are in, one of Guy's leaders that he's got on, or if you have, authored a business publication, you're probably going to have a fair amount of people in your network or the network that you want to connect with on LinkedIn. That's where they tend to hang out, even when they're not looking for a new job. That's just, we are seeing tremendous growth in people who are connecting with each other on LinkedIn. But say you have authored a graphic design publication, it's very likely that you are going to have a good audience on Instagram. This is a very visual platform, as you know. And so I would say find out where your audience is most likely to be located and start there. Start small. Just allow yourself to be a beginner and start slowly, and just make some posts, get acquainted with it.
Yeah, and Bang, it's something I'd like to add. And anyone who's ever been to any of the zagging sessions that I do, one of the things that we always talk about in the Zag Pro Academy is to start by just social listening. And when I mean social listening, I'm not meaning it from the standpoint of listening with these high end, analytic tools that are, obviously, I mean, big businesses use it, big data. But the social listening I'm talking about is jump in on hashtags. For example, in the world of education today, hashtags would include mental health, SEL, social and emotional learning, self care, right? And jump in on some of those conversations and get a chance to see what other people are saying about it, so that you can get a better sense of maybe how you can figure out how you can become part of that conversation and start to jump into different things. And that's just a real easy way. Or you can do like this. We did this in Missouri. Is there's different things that you can do, like this hashtag kindness across the states. This was actually something that a few of the people put on and put this on and started creating content, and again getting some call to action too. So there's so many different ways that you can start, but I'm just going to say this. If you are an author, I think the easiest way to start is just to maybe even put out some quotes about your book or announcement about your book, and then I think you can put out some content about your book. But you can also do it with other people's hashtags and jumping into conversations. For example, in the world of marketing, I will jump into advocacy conversations. I will jump into digital media, digital marketing conversations. I'll certainly jump into any social media. So there's some really easy ways to get started in your journey on getting, establishing your own presence on social media.
Absolutely. And along that tune of getting started, one of the things is there's so much out there. There's a lot to learn. There is a lot of content. Again, billions of posts being made every day. And so the encouragement that I would give to that is it's a snowball effect. Consistency plus strategy is going to equal impact. You get a good plan, you keep performing on that plan, and that's where you're going to see effect take place. Dan, any kind of notes about strategy? Don't you have a little phrase about content or something or other?
I do. And I'm going to say this. I think it's really important. In the book, I actually wrote this phrase that content is king, strategy is queen. I think it's just really important for everyone to understand that the starting point is going to be the content that you create, what types of content, which we'll be getting into very soon in this broadcast. But you got to remember, content is the king, but you've got to have a strategy. In other words, you've got to bringing you back, Megan. One of the things that we want to be able to do is to stop the random acts of content. And I think that that is something that a lot of organizations can struggle with because they're not sure what to do, and they just put these random posts out, and that's how they're perceived. There's no strategy to it. I mean, yeah, they might do something great about, oh, guess what? We're going to have our convention and let's post all about the convention. But then the question I have is, then what are you doing the other 11 months of the year when you're still advocating? Again, if you're, an advocacy group, for example, and that's why having a strategy is so important. So yeah, that's just something I just want to leave everyone with, how important strategy is. So with that, yeah, here we go. I love this. Bobby says, for me, random content is just social media pollution. uh, I teach at a Baptist school, and I'll throw out an amen there. So Bobby, thank you so much for making that. And yes, Anna, you definitely have to have a strategy, and that's really what a big part of the zagging book is. Is we certainly give lots of strategies and best practices, ranging if you're a beginner, certainly all the way to even some people that have been doing this for many, many, many years, as certainly digital media strategists or people involved in marketing. And there we go. Bobby's back. I can appreciate that being from the Bible Belt. That was awesome. All right, see, Megan, we're gonna have a little fun tonight. All right.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely. So, something else I'll tend to hear all the time about social media is, well, I kind of don't really use it. And generally, when I hear that, I find that it usually comes from two places. And one of them is kind of a place of fear. If you're not super familiar with most platforms or certain platforms, it's an unknown. And that's generally how we react to unknowns is with a little bit of fear. Or I just get, it's just really kind of not my thing. And so whatever your reason is, if you fall into that category, I would just, again, encourage you, reframe your thinking a little bit, because if you are approaching social media feeling like you just have to be pushing content, the great thing about it is it's a place to do good. It is a place to take whatever your professional purpose is or your personal purpose, and to help drive it forward so it can reach more people. Your goal is to be a valuable resource. And again, there is a lot out there. It's true. And so when there is an unknown, embrace that learning curve. Take that growth mindset that you're likely encouraging people in your life to have, whether it's children, students, or colleagues, and really just kind of take that on and embrace it. And it's an exciting journey. So again, I would just, it's a place to help others, to be a resource.
Yeah, Megan, we actually have a question for you, and here it is.
Oh, I love it. What support do we provide for social media campaigns? Well, one of the best things that Kendall Hunt can do is, and we've kind of talked about that a little bit, is, and we're going to talk about a little bit more later on, but when you post, what we love to do is we love to repost that content, because that shows it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And so not only does it take the work that you've done in posting and it spreads it out to our audience, where it can then continue to grow exponentially, but then it's good for us too, because it shows, wow, look at our fantastic authors. Look at the great work they're doing with their students at their schools professionally. Look what content experts they are. And so it takes your effect and it multiplies it, and it's good for us too. And so if you are posting on social media, A, amazing job, and B, tag us. I love to see those. I love to repost those, and just continue to keep that snowball rolling.
Absolutely. And with that, what I'd like to add, and I'm going to put this out here right now, it's great timing as we transition to, um, I want to say this to all the leaders that are on the group right now, because I think this is really important. And for any leader out there, I think that, whether you're an executive director or a president or president elect, is you have to ask yourself, who is your target audience and what problem are you trying to solve? And I think that is so important, that, again, as a leader, you don't have to be like social media specialists like we are, because obviously we post every single day. But I do think from a big picture, understanding the key concepts of social media or the foundation of social media, that's a big part of the reason why I wrote the zagging book. So it can be used for what I would call more of the practitioner, but can also be used for the strategists or the leaders at the top that need to understand the different arsenal that you have right there with all these different platforms that you can use to reach your intended audience. And you got another question coming your way, and this one's from Bobby again.
Oh, I love it. What's the best hashtag for Kendall Hunt? Well, you can tag us on LinkedIn. We're just Kendall Hunt Publishing, and then on Facebook and Twitter, we're at Kendall Hunt HE. But one that we like to use a lot of times is professional development. Prof Dev is a great hashtag because it's basically saying, hey, I've got some really good content that you should take a look at. Another one that I love all the time is hashtag Kendall Hunt Author or hashtag Kendall Hunt Authors, because it says, hey, this is where it's at. This is what you need to be looking at.
And Bobby, I'll throw this out there. If you were to tag zagging or hashtag, sorry, if you hashtag zagging, I'll be happy to show you some love, my friend. So that's a really easy way for me to see it is through zagging, other than just tagging me. And you have one more question there, Megan. Here you go.
Oh, I love it. Who do we notify at KH about our posts and campaigns besides tagging? So, funny thing, Tagging is the way that you notify KH, because I'm going to tell you a little secret. Guess who sees that? That's basically sending a message directly to my inbox when you tag Kendall Hunt. So great way to get on my radar is to tag us.
And I can verify that. I can tell you that, Bobby, she does it. I mean, it's awesome. I don't tag her into everything, but I got to tell you, once in a while, I definitely will give her some really cool stuff. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't say that again. You're asking about hashtags. This is actually a great one. This is not only a campaign, but this is, certainly a really cool one to get involved with servant leadership. Absolutely. So with that, so Megan, I tell you what, you become quite popular here on the Zag Talk podcast live. So let's continue. This has been awesome. Keep the questions and the love coming, and
Absolutely.
let's get to the next thing. And hopefully, my daughter talked me into that. She's 16. She says, "Dad, if you really want to do something, do the Home Alone pose." And there we go. We captured it. So there's my Home Alone pose.
Oh, I love it. Shout out to your daughter.
Yep.
That's fantastic. So now hopefully we've got you thoroughly convinced about the why of social media, why it should be there, why it's the best thing since sliced bread and Wonder Bread and mayonnaise and all of those good things. So now let's get into a little bit of the how. Now, Guy has done a wonderful job of kind of consolidating the best practices of social media into 21 kind of key actions and principles to take. And if that sounds a lot, just think that is 21 ideas for content that you can use directly. And they overlap too, which is great. But one of my favorites is kind of that great job interview principle. Figure out what makes you different. What is it that's unique about you that brings to the table? Maybe you really, really embody the servant leadership approach and you promote that among your colleagues. Maybe you are a business professor and the approach that you've taken in your publication and in your courses is unique compared to general business courses that you generally see. And so take that thing about you that's unique, weird, interesting, and get that out there. Start there.
Yeah, and Megan, something I'd like to add for all the leaders that are out there. When Lauren Krebs and I were looking at the research on this, what we found really interesting in the data, that is how many organizations could tell us or knew what makes them different. But guess what? When we looked and did the content analysis on their social media, it's another thing to communicate it. So you can know what makes you different. The question that I have, and this is a lot what I do in my workshops and my trainings, and that is, are you actually communicating it? And that's why we do the data analytics. That's why we do the content analysis. I cannot stress how important that is. Again, especially if you're a leader, to your point, you've got to be able to absolutely, and then of course, that is so important, with that. And along that, I would say this, you got to ask the question, Megan, earlier, what makes you different. One of the easiest ways to do that is really from the book Simon Sinek, as he wrote, Start with Your Why. And I know this is something that we talk about all the time in our state organization. Start with your why. Share your why. Share your why. Do a short video. Let everyone know why you do what you do. Because here's what Simon Sinek says: people don't buy what you do, they simply buy why you do it. That's why it's so important, especially in the world of advocacy, or even for authors, for them to hear, why you do what you do. For me, honestly, in the world of advocacy, it's because I want to be a guiding light or a resource to all these people that are, right now joining us live, and trying to help them navigate this very, at times, this is a jungle. I mean, it really is. It's not easy at times, but we want to try to make it simple to be effective, how to do that. So with that, Megan, we got a question, and I'll let you start with it, and I'll even weigh in on it.
That is a really good question. To be effective, what's the time commitment on social media per day or per week? So it's kind of the same principle behind meal prep if you've ever, I'm kind of a nutrition nut in my private life. And so sometimes what I will do is I will make a giant recipe and I will freeze it in batches. And then when I want to pull it out and use it, it takes me literally 5 seconds. And so what I mean by that is, and we'll get into this a little bit later too, is create a calendar.
Right.
Take 15 minutes at the beginning of your week and say, okay, so my goal is starting out here to post, 3 times a week. And so on Monday, I am going to post a picture of, my student symposium that they did presenting, from my class. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to do a, sort of a more fun, get to know me sort of post. And then on Friday, I'm going to post a link to my publication perhaps. So take it and just plan it out, maybe, 15, 20, 30 minutes at the beginning of your week. And then on the day of, it really is going to take you no time at all. That's what I would suggest. Guy, do you have any additional insight into that?
Yeah, I'm going to say this more for those that have to, manage or, provide oversight to organizations, to our leaders. I think, it's safe to say that you can do, 1 to 2 posts a day. And the other thing is sometimes it's really easy to go ahead and align that with certain hashtags. For example, Throwback Thursdays is always fun. That's why I showed you that slide in the beginning of me with the long hair, right? It was a real fun Throwback Thursday, but it was a really easy way to create content. In the world of, again, health and physical education, Wednesday is also a popular hashtag, Wellness Wednesday. And, there's a lot you can do. Now, there's a question for me.
Mm-hmm.
How does advocacy come across on social media for essentially your own unique viewpoint? How should advocacy be handled? Well, again, I would say what we do is we first and foremost ask what problem we're trying to solve. Well, I'm sorry. We first of all identify what audience we're trying to serve. Who is the audience? And then the question we then ask, what problem are we trying to solve? So, for example, if we want to raise awareness to, say, mental health, or we want to raise awareness for social emotional learning, or sometimes we do public service announcements on cyberbullying, things like that. It comes across from a variety of ways, from information. That's a real easy thing you can put out. You can put out, short form videos. You can do live podcasts like this. You can put out articles. You can put out blogs. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But from your own unique standpoint, you can do that based on the organization that you represent. Or if you're an author like I am, the other thing I do, for example, like cyberbullying, I put that out as my own advocacy because this is something that happened to my daughter. So I bring in the parent perspective when it comes to advocacy for cyberbullying, for example, because it happened to her, which she decided to get off social media when she was 15 years old for a month. She decided to leave using Instagram and Snapchat as a result. So, anyways, that's a great question. And how should that be handled? Again, I think also getting involved with the hashtags of what people are saying and trying to figure out your unique voice of how you want to approach the subject. And that is a great, great question. And, I want to introduce everyone to something that's always, if you've ever been on any of my broadcasts, learn what's known as a Zag Bomb. And we've got a Zag Bomb for you. That means this person was not on any of the billing. It's just someone that happens to show up. And I'm so excited to bring on my co-author, Lauren Krebs. And Lauren, how are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing great. How are y'all?
We are rocking it. We've got a great group. We've got so many different people in the house, and it's just so much fun. And we're now going through the best practices. And let's go ahead and I'm going to give you a couple of the shout outs so you can see where we are about Twitter advocacy. Yes. Also, yeah, we actually did some work with meeting with Congress. And another thing, as far as advocacy and how you treat it, you also have to understand your 4 news cycles. There's 4 of those. The one that we use a lot is between 6 a.m. to noon. That's a popular one for the world of health and PE. But again, these are data points that you can find out on what news cycles that you want to be in. Of course, you're getting the love and the shout out. Yes, everyone misses you. So I'm going to catch you up and get you to weigh in on this, Lauren. So Lauren, I just want to say that, It's so exciting to have you on here. You should recognize our 21 best practices that we put that together. So the thing we're asking is identify what makes you different. And so you want to kind of give your perspective on that as Megan and I just got done with that.
Yeah, of course. So, one thing that I feel like we hit on this, of course, always, and we always kind of go into, you know, what makes you stand out? What is the, you know, if why is someone going to come to you instead of
Right.
going elsewhere, right? Well, I just been thinking on this, I don't know, a lot, and I really feel like the difference maker is you. Like it is
Right.
you. There is no one else in the world but you, and that's what people want to connect with. So connecting with your stories, with your failures, and also like all of your experiences and skills. So I don't know. I feel like the true niche is you, and we always say this, and we're going to say it again and again. It's not, people will not buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So I'm just wanting to hit on that you are the difference maker. If you're thinking like, I don't know, I'm not different, it's you. It's just you. So get that content out there and just be yourself, and people will, engage and want to learn more and keep coming back.
Absolutely, and I think what Kim Ballard has to say is very valid. Personal is key. We know that, Lauren, and that's what I love about what we do. We are who we are. I'm not afraid to let everyone know. Hey, I'm a former '80s rocker. I have a TikTok account. I shred, minute to minute and a half long because I just have fun. And people my age, they still actually like listen to that kind of music. But Lauren, to your point, that's something that I learned a lot when we were going through the research for the book. And this is a really important point that we're making. So you just have to be comfortable in your own skin. And why Kim, I have Kim up here. I want to share a really good testimony about her because she was part of the Zag Pro Academy, Lauren, when we were doing this back during COVID. And Kim started to get involved in making these videos. And she
Oh.
had no experience making videos. We just taught her how to turn her phone around, and one day she just, during her walk time, she put together a really, really, really just heartfelt message. And what she discovered is I think she had something like 1,800 or 2,000 views for her very first video. And she couldn't believe it. And all we were just trying to tell her is that's because you're sharing your heart and you're being so authentic. And Kim, that is, yeah, there. And she said, and here's what I love. This is why, if you're a
I was
beginner,
so scared.
this was her first video. She was scared, but that's the whole point here. That's why, you just take baby steps, but I'll never forget when she decided to go ahead and do that. And Lauren, you're getting some love for Sean right now. Krebs is dropping the knowledge and dropping the mic drop. Absolutely. And yeah, and I think Anna, yes, you're exactly right. I think this is true of anyone that's, again, looking to level up their game, whatever that might be on social media, for whatever purpose you have, is you just can't be afraid to be vulnerable. I can remember, I'm not kidding you, the very first time I launched the Zag Talk podcast live. This was such a different format for me. It was so different, the whole live interaction. Today, oh my goodness, I feel so blessed to be able to do this. And especially now getting to that session sponsored by Kendall Hunt. I mean, come on, Lauren. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this, right?
It doesn't, no.
This is our passion.
No.
This is what we love. And that's another thing that I guess, that's really, really important. Kim, yes, you're exactly right. It's about being vulnerable, but it's about being real. People can do all kinds of slick production, but it's about just being real and having real conversations like we are right now. So with that, we'll go ahead and go to the next best practice. And Lauren, why don't you kick us off on this, because this one's near and dear to me, and that's master the art of storytelling.
Yes. So I think for this, I feel like the biggest key here is the rehearsing. So prop up your phone, rehearse your story, and then watch it.
Right.
And then rehearse it again and watch it again and make those small improvements. Know when to hit that punchline, know kind of that process. I think I'm actually reading a book right now by Kendra Hall, and it's called Stories That Stick. And it's really good. So if you haven't read it and you want to go more on storytelling, that's actually something that's really hard for me. I'm not a very good storyteller. I like to go backwards and I like to go forwards and all over the place. So this is something I've been actually working on myself. But she kind of goes into, it's called normal, explosion, new normal. So the normal is what everybody's feeling. You got to have it kind of, you know, attached to their, you know, attached to your emotions. And then after they kind of see that, you know, like, I am so anxious to go to this new job, then the explosion would be, oh, I didn't get that new job. And then the new normal was that job wasn't right for me, you know? So, and I found a new job that fit more in my skin. So I think the biggest thing is really the rehearsal, but then having people connect with you as well, and being real and kind of going back to that and having that connection.
And with that, Michelle Huff has just joined in. And Lauren, why don't you respond to this? Because obviously this is pretty cool what she has to say.
Exactly. And you know how many other people are nervous as well, you know, and they see that and they're like, oh my goodness, like I feel what she's feeling. I see what she's doing. Um, yeah. And is there a different thing? I'm only saying the nervous. Is there
Yeah,
something else that popped up?
I'll give it to, no, that was it.
Okay.
I'll give it to you in that view.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And two, I feel like sometimes you know, after rehearsing it, you do just have to kind of put it out there. And then you probably will look back in a few years and be like, ooh, that was rough. But those are the growing years. And you not doing that, you will never get to that point B. So
Absolutely. So with that, Megan, anything else you want to add in about, sharing your story?
I really love the vulnerability angle, and I
Yeah.
think that can be, when people approach social media, one of the biggest kind of barriers to entry is the fear, just like with anything, that it's not going to be perfect. And so let me just solve that for you. It's not going to be. But there's such freedom in that, because also when it's not perfect, people see the real you, and that's what they care about. They would much rather see the real you, who is broken and quirky and not completely a polished, perfect person, than to see some kind of manufactured plastic perfection.
Right. And Megan, to go along with that, I was sharing this story, and I know Kim Ballard's on. Recently I had a chance to, do media for Shape America's Shape NOLA National Conference. And I was interviewing the CEO of Shape America, and I totally forgot where I was. And this was a video we were making to put out near real time. And then she had something to say about it. She's like, you know what, guy, you know what? Here's where we are, but just roll with it. And I left the blooper in, and I have to believe that it got us another like 3 times more views because we left the blooper in. Because I had this facial expression, because I do this all the time. I host coaches shows all the time. I interview people weekly. I make videos monthly for the CDC. And all of a sudden I completely forget where I'm at. Shape Nola, I referenced something else, and she just started laughing. She's like, and just roll with it. And to your point, Megan, that's what I mean about being real, and that's what's so important about that. And so, Lauren, as we go through again of the 21 best practices, we took the biggest 7, and Lauren, this one is near to you, because this is one you added immediately, and you've got a great story for it because of what you did during your internship back in the day. So why don't you go ahead and dissect the why the calendar is so important.
The calendar. Especially if you have a million things going on, which I feel like every single person does, especially in this audience. And this will kind of give you, it's almost like, whenever, like a meal prep, same kind of thing. You need
Right.
to know what you're doing, because that day you're going to be like, what should I do? And then you're posting random things. So I think the biggest thing here is start small. I feel like definitely start small. But I think Kim did an amazing job I think it was Tuesday or every day,
Every Monday.
every Monday,
Yeah.
she did that walk. And so people were like, oh, it's Monday. Where is it? So as soon as you start doing that, people will catch on. They'll be like, wait a minute. this is Monday. We should be seeing Kim's walk here and giving us some insight and positive message. But then whenever you start getting bigger and bigger, I do feel that, making sure you know what you're posting every day, making sure it goes back to who you are and what you're wanting to really get out there. So it's a cohesive message throughout.
And Megan, with that, I want you to talk a little bit about from your angle as a social media specialist, how you manage, using a calendar.
So managing social media from more of a corporate perspective, I mentioned kind of taking it a week at a time. What we will do is, since we've got a very, very broad sort of perspective, we will take our biggest events and we'll lay those in. And then we'll take some other things we know are happening, we want to lay those in. And some other things we want people to know about, and we'll lay those in. And then from there, you can just kind of like fill in the empty spaces. So, and you could use those principles too. I would say take the biggest things that you want people to know and put those in a calendar. And then what that leaves you with, it is not as overwhelming anymore.
Right.
And so you can kind of just take that leveled down approach.
Yeah, and Megan, the one thing I want to say again, if you're an organizational leader, there's a couple tools, like for example, we use at MoShape. I also know Shape America uses it. There's these management tools that will allow you to manage all your social media accounts on these platforms. The two most popular, the first one is Hootsuite, and that's a very popular one that we've used at MoShape, as well as Sprout Social. I think also if you're a business entrepreneur, or you're a solopreneur, Sprout Social has some different advantages as well. But I think you should look into Sprout Social or Hootsuite. I know once the pandemic hit, we couldn't use it anymore because there were so many updates made literally hourly with all the school closings and all that stuff. So we couldn't auto schedule anything, if you remember those days. But we're starting to get back to a place where we can start to use those tools again that can really help us. And I know you're going to ask me, what's the split? I think depending on your organization, it could be simple, 50-50, or it could be 80-20, meaning you auto schedule 80% of your tweets. Of course, some of that's also dependent on, whether you have live events or not. But again, you just got to fit what works for you. I just know that we were using it around 50-50. 50% were pre-scheduled, on a monthly basis. And it's really great because these tools give you great analytics, easy to read and understand analytics as well. So just wanted to throw that out for everyone. So with that, Lauren, the next best practice is, oh my goodness. I mean, I could have wrote my dissertation on this. Attention grabbing headlines. What do you got for us?
Oh, goodness. So we live in this generation that, we are very easily distracted as well as very easily bored. I think something about this is kind of knowing, thinking of each platform and what is it that's grabbing, knowing your audience and what is grabbing the attention. So like for TikTok, you get 3 seconds. You get 3 seconds. You better have some kind of your message in those first 3 seconds are, they're swiping up. Instagram, I feel like it's more of an aesthetic feeling more than anything. Do they kind of like what you're showing? And then does your profile kind of give them some stuff that they can go into? And then with Twitter, obviously those headlines are crucial, as well as Facebook. But Facebook, I think, is going back to, going into that video even more and more. You want to kind of add on to that?
Well, I think Anna just did for us, and that's exactly right. The hook is essential. I just
The
want to
hook.
share this with everyone. We actually have this as one of the best practices, and that we didn't list it here, but one of them is grabbing the attention. You have to win the 3-second game. And the reason why I say that is even YouTube, if you look at their analytics, they have now, YouTube has added a 3-second analytic to look at drop-offs. So if you get on our broadcast and you're dilly-dallying around, I mean, boom, you could be gone. And then they have a 10-second drop-off rate. So drop-off rates are really important to look at your analytics, especially on your video. And here's something that some of you may not know. So this is kind of, a newer thing that YouTube has now just done. Do you know that they have the analytics based on their platform? They have their long form, they have it based on shorts, and they also have it based on live. So if you really want to do a deeper dive and really see per platform what they're offering, those analytics are very important. But I can tell you right now, the game is hooking your audience right away with your content. That's why you got 3 seconds. And one of the things, Lauren, you remember us, and I still do this today. Let's see if I can show it to you. I'm going to isolate my screen for a second. Let me just pull this up. And that is, I do this, and this is a fun little exercise. I'll ask people to take out their Twitter account, and then I'll just say, go ahead. And I know the screen isn't cooperating, but imagine if you had your screen, and what I ask people to do is for 1 minute, I ask them to scroll through and then stop when something grabbed their attention. And this is a surprising thing. In a group of, say, 50 people during a state convention, when I do this exercise, there are only 8 people that stopped, 42 people still scrolling a minute later. And then I'll say, okay, now go back and count how many you skipped over. And that average is somewhere between 40 to 45 tweets that got skipped over. So if you don't think that this is very real, the name of the game, again, because there's 60 billion posts made every 24 hours, you've got to win the battle of the first 3 seconds. It's so important. So Megan, anything else on that?
Yeah, it's simple math. You're not being an attention hog. You're not, it can sometimes feel, slightly narcissistic. It's not that. You're just doing the math, and you're weighing the odds. Guy, you kind of likened it earlier. It's like a tidal wave, and so if you are not that little white buoy that people see in the tidal wave, then think about all that amazing work you're doing. Whatever it is, whoever you're bringing benefit to,
right,
that's going to be lost in the feed, and no one's going to see it if you're not grabbing attention. And so it's not just so people can give likes and shares. That's all good. That's helpful, but it's so that you can continue to benefit people.
Right. And the way to do that, then, after you get the hook, but you got to follow it up with a call to action. In other words, people want to be taken somewhere. What's next? And that's another thing that I see a lot of times organizations miss the boat on. They don't have that call to action. They do a good job hooking you in, maybe give you good information, but after that, what's next? And that's another part of that equation that, again, that Lauren and I spent some time talking about and articulating in our zagging book. So I think that's a really, really, really important point. Okay, the next one is, and Megan, we'll kick this one off with you. Talk to us about, as a best practice, why micro influencers are so mission critical to advocating using social and digital media.
Absolutely. And I'm going to use an old cliche that everyone has heard. It is not always what you know, it's who you know. So you don't have to, fret yourself that, you don't have Dick Van Dyke or, Kim Kardashian or Justin Bieber, liking and sharing your posts. But think of it like a networking scenario. Who are the big people in your field who have big audiences, who are going to help get you eyes? Take those people and tag them. Well, it's by tagging, Kendall Hunt, you're doing the same thing. We're kind of acting as a micro influencer for you because you're expanding what you're bringing to the table, and you're pulling it beyond your audience and you're pulling it to ours. And so go in your field, scroll around on social media and find out who is active where you're at, where you want to make an impact. And see, the great thing about social media is what you're doing is you're creating a community. You're building relationships. I can't stress that enough. It's about people. And so you can reach out, start to get acquainted electronically, and then when you post, tag them. And that is a great way to help get your content snowballing.
Absolutely. And, Lauren, anything else you want to add on the micro influencer? Because I know that was something big for you as well.
Oh, 100%. It's huge. And I think Megan made a really good point. And that's something that I had to learn. I think I was a little naive. It is actually about growing relationships and friendships. Right. And it's not just getting them to like it or reshare it. And that that is just very inauthentic and something that I feel like, as long as you're doing that and you're building that, it's actually becomes, you actually get a friend out of it. So I'm right on board with that.
All right. So our next best practice is we round out our top 7. And I'm just going to sit there and say right now, anyone who knows me, the major breakthrough for me is repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. If you are taking notes, I would encourage you to take this one note. If you right now, today, literally today, want to have impact on your social media, start repurposing your content. I'll give you a couple of simple strategies. Number one, when you put out your content and it starts to get some shares or some likes or some retweets, what you want to do is the next day is quote retweet it yourself and just put I see why am I in case you missed it. And the reason is because depending on when people consume content, not everyone's like me that consumes it right first thing in the morning. I'm up, by 5:30 and I'm checking all my social media channels from 5:30 to 6:30 and I'm posting. But if someone, posted a different, time, then sometimes I don't see it. And that is why you want to put it out the next day, especially if you've got content that's getting some good, some good engagement on. The other thing I want to say is also to look at repurposing your content even 2 or 3 days later. I'll give you a great example. We had a situation actually on one of these podcast lives. I was co-hosting with someone, and we were doing a session on Employee Wellness Week, and this was done in May, called Play All May campaign through the hashtag. And what we did is the live broadcast generated something like 350 live viewers. As soon as the broadcast was over, I went and then hit and retweeted it and let everyone know. I'm sorry, quote retweeted it, let everyone know, hey, replay now available. And within 24 hours, we had 1,000 views. And then 3 days later, we repurposed it one more time in case you missed it and just added some subtext. And the next thing you know, it ballooned up to over 3,000 views. That is why I can tell you right now, if I had to just give you one piece of information, one best practice, the one that was so game changing for us, I can tell you based on the data, and it's right here, and Anna's got it right there. Repurpose, 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 because you can see 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and sometimes, yes, you can see up to 10 times the impact and reach from using repurposing as part of your strategy. And I'll certainly open the floor up to either one of you two to want to comment on that. But I can tell you right now, I learned that about 4 years ago, and it changed everything for me. The analytics just went through the roof. And now I've been able to use that with all these other organizations that I work with. And I certainly, Lauren, as you recall, we made such a big deal about it in the book, the importance of repurposing your content, especially your best performing content. So, Lauren, anything on that?
Yeah, I think I was just actually going to touch on whenever it performs well,
Right.
use it again, and that might be just like we're doing here. You do a video or a podcast, strip the audio, throw it on Spotify, take a small video out, throw it on Facebook, use a picture, throw it on Instagram. You can use so much in what by making these kind of videos. So not just even on one platform, but use it across a lot of different platforms, taking, different bits of it. But yeah, I think just really, and looking at the data, figure out that content did good. I'm going to do more on that.
Right.
That's, yeah, you hit on the nail on the head, guy.
So with that, I actually want Megan to kick this one off because as she was looking through the list, I asked her what's something that's just near and dear to you, and I'll let you speak to this.
Absolutely. And it's something that I will preach from here to kingdom come. Add value, add perspective, add to the conversation. Again, I know we've got a lot of authors here on this live stream. It's the principles of social media are honestly the same principles that you take when you are, publishing a research article. What are you trying to do? You are trying to add a valuable piece of information to the body of work that has been done. And so if you approach your social media the same way, and maybe that is, the 3 top practices that keep biology students engaged. Maybe that's a post. You're going to be adding tremendous value to the field. And so research writing, social media, it's basically the same thing.
Absolutely. So again, and Lauren, we talk about this all the time. I mean, I always say, what's your purpose for being on social media? And it should be not about you, it's about them. I like this quote from Sean Cannell, and Lauren, I know you'll remember it very well. And that is this, the minute you try to, look at trying to reach everyone, you reach no one. And that's very profound. And I also like this other quote that he has, and this will be in the second edition of the book a year from now, right, Megan? And I love this quote. And he says this: the content creator understands their audience the best wins. And that is why we've got to know what our audience wants. We got to know what their needs are. And we got to be able to provide content that's valuable to them. And that's really, where a lot of us can start, whether you're a state organization, whether you're a teacher, an educator, or even an author. It's how can you add value to your audience? That's why I give to Megan, you just said it, about giving out these simple tips. And Lauren and I have been doing that for a few years. That's kind of how we kicked everything off before we authored the book. I mean, that's what we were doing. And so you're so right on the mark, Megan, with that point. So thank you so much for enlightening us. And Lauren, any final thoughts as we want to thank you for Zag bombing in. And so I'm so glad you worked this into your schedule. And I know, just let everyone know, we are working on the second edition. We're going to be, I guess we give a little sneak peek. We're going to do a little bit with some TikTok. Yeah, right. And we're also going to be doing some things on how you can monetize your media. So Lauren, let's give you the parting shot here, as then, we continue on, and just want to say thanks for jumping on the podcast live.
Oh, well, thank you so much for inviting me. I had so much fun and I miss you all so much. And I just want to hit on the head one more time. Just make sure you're being you, build those relationships. It's getting in front of people, a ton of different people, but just to be you. So that's my final words. And again, thank you so much. And it was so good to hear from everyone again.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Well, there it is. All I can tell you is she's just amazing. She's a research fanatic. It was such a pleasure writing the book with her, and she's certainly amazing at graphic arts, and certainly, loves doing these things together. So, Megan, let's kind of get things wrapping up as we go into the last phase of what we really want to cover, and that is, what do we share? And
Absolutely.
So with that, why don't you start with, wait a minute. Hold on, hang on. I think we have another Zag Bomb. So why don't you, what's going on now with the Zag Bomb?
Well, I would like to introduce a very, very special guest. We have Lisa Sabers joining us, and she is our director of marketing here at Kendall Hunt in the higher education division. So big welcome to Lisa. And Lisa, what I love about working with you is just your perspective and insight into authors and some of the unique things that they can bring to the table as they're coming to this social media space, whether they've been on it for a while or whether it's kind of new. So I would just love to kind of hear from your perspective.
Sure. First of all, hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Guy and Megan, for having me. It's been an interesting hour. I really appreciated the conversation. Lauren is phenomenal. I was so excited to hear from her. So it's been a fun time so far. Megan, to answer your question, I get really passionate talking about what our authors can bring to the table, because it kind of complements right into what Lauren was talking about actually earlier, which is their unique perspective.
Right.
So with regards to a KH author specifically, they're not necessarily, and Guy, you can attest to this, and Lauren can attest to this. You're not some researcher that's sitting back in an office somewhere cranking out content. You are in the classroom. You are living this. You are experiencing this as are our authors, and it gives you such a unique perspective to be able to share with your audience. The fact that you can really speak to, this is what's happening in my classroom. This is what I'm seeing. And guess what? I did something about it. I wrote a book. I wrote this piece of content. I created this website. I created this ancillary to meet this need. It is so impactful, and it is such a joy when we see authors that we work with, that Megan works with on the daily. She does a phenomenal job, but it's so fantastic and rewarding to see the positive responses we get on social media when our authors share their own perspectives, share their own personal stories about what they're experiencing in the classroom, and then a bit about their book, their perspective on how they've addressed that and what they've seen. You see their colleagues comment, you see others comment, you see those posts get shared as resources for others. And it's just tremendous. So I'm sorry, I could go on forever. It gets really exciting, but we love to hear, and we see such a great response when we see and read our authors' unique perspective that they bring from their work in the classroom, and how that translates into what they teach and how they teach.
Yeah, and Lisa, this is just a testament of it, right? So many great notes. And all I'm going to say, and Meg and I talked about this before we went on camera. Here's the deal: we learn from you. I can't tell you how many times I love collaborating. I love direct messaging people, especially on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to reach out to me, because we all learn from, we learn this together. We really are one big, community. And if we look at it through that lens, that's how we all learn. I mean, I'll be honest with you. How did I learn the story about vulnerability? Well, I saw Kim Ballard actually live it. I saw her do it. How did I learn some of these things about analytics, or how did I learn about some of these campaigns? Lisa, to your point, we were living it. And now what I love is I get a chance to teach a class starting in the fall called Sport and Social Media. Oh my gosh, really? I get paid to teach that class? But the cool part of that is again, also looking through the lens of, say, a graduate student that is, 21, 22, 23, 24, or even older. But again, learning through the way that they see, the use of social media from their perspective. That's what I love so much about what we're able to do. And we'll just put the shout out there. And yeah, obviously, again, it just goes to show what we're trying to do, by having this podcast tonight. And so without further ado, Megan, let's just bring it home, because we just got a few more things. Because the number one question that we get asked is, what do we share on social media? And I'll go ahead and kick off short videos.
Absolutely. And hopefully at this point you're encouraged, because again, it does not have to be perfect. One of the most powerful things you can do is use short form video. It gets viewed a lot. It gets shared a lot. Honestly, it can be as simple as pointing your smartphone at yourself and sharing a valuable piece of information.
Yeah, and with that short form videos, just so we're clear, it's videos under 2 minutes.
Mhm.
Again, you can look at the three big I look at is, you got YouTube Shorts, you've got Instagram, and of course, you certainly got TikTok. And it's really interesting to see what's going on with those platforms. But short form video is really easy to do. And of course, YouTube, for any of the longer content. And I'm going to give you guys all a big word, okay? It's called evergreen content. If you're taking notes, write that down. What is known by evergreen content? It's really simple. It's the whole concept of something growing that it's going to stay for quite some time, like evergreen, like a tree. It's going to stay for around. So when you think about your content, there's really easy ways that you can create content that's going to be able to be housed on YouTube. Maybe it's relevant today, and it could be as relevant just 2 years later, depending on how you frame it, on what kinds of things that you want to do with it. But that is something, again, that, we talk a little bit about in the Zagging book, about creating evergreen content so that it's always relevant to your audience, as opposed to news cycle type things of what's going on right now, or, breaking news. And, I come from the sports world, so we get a lot of breaking news. There's that player trade, or, here's the score of the game, or, all those kinds of things. So when you think about your social media, be thinking about how you can, grow evergreen content, especially if you're an author within your field. That's a real simple thing you can do using all these different platforms. So with that, let's talk about sneak peek tips. Megan, I'll let you comment on kind of how I use this. I know that's something you kind of picked up from me, and I'll let you go ahead and expound on that.
Yeah, before we even ever had a conversation, one of the things that I noticed, because he was tagging Kendall Hunt, and so I saw it right away, was that guy is really great at creating. He's good at creating buzz, because he'll take and say, "Hey, guess what's going to be in my new edition? This little nugget about TikTok, or this thing or that thing." And so you can do that with content that's going to be coming out. You can do that with events that you're going to be attending. Hey, sneak peek, I'm going to be at such and such. Hopefully, you're going to be there too. There is a big conference or something else. But that is a way to say, not just here's what I've done, but here's what is coming down the line. You can be anticipating, and then that kind of anticipation factor, that just gives you an easy content to post on later, because then also you have to announce whatever it is you created anticipation for.
Yeah, I love creating the sneak peeks. Again, it's just something that keeps people's interest. Again, it's about grabbing people's attention, just being very honest. I do like using a very short form video in doing that. Also, I like this point. What else should I share? Content that you didn't create. Okay, Megan, what in the world does that mean? Content that you didn't create.
So the great thing about this is you don't have to be 100% of your time brainstorming things. If you came across an article that you thought was really insightful or inspiring, or a book quote, or Lauren kind of did this naturally earlier. She said, "Oh, I'm reading this great book. You should read it."
Right.
That can be a post. And so you are still kind of adding to that conversation without having to be a creator 100% of your time.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the next one is, I'll start with this one, events and accomplishments. Again, a lot of this has to do with, again, from an author standpoint, I can tell you on events, obviously, when you get the chance to publish articles, you get to go to your conference, a really easy way to let people know when you're presenting, when your session is, as well as, if you're, also say a leader and you got to promote your own events. For example, like MoShape, we have our convention, our state convention coming up, and we've already begun actually promoting the event to get people excited about what's going to come. Again, that's that sneak peek. We actually put out a video every week on some aspect of a sneak peek of something very special that we want to, go ahead and share. I can tell you this, I've already begun sneak peeking on the second edition of the book, even though I know it's not going to come out for a little while, but yet I can't contain this really cool information that I'm researching. I want to tell the world. And so that's why I tag Kendall Hunt, and you guys have all done a fantastic job. And at least I want you to kind of weigh in on that. When we talk about, this concept of, events and accomplishments, because I think that's a really easy way for authors to jump into that game.
Absolutely. One of the things that we've talked about and that Megan and I have discussions about frequently is, how do we position our authors as thought leaders within their specific discipline? And when they attend conferences, when they speak at events, whether they're just attending to gain additional education on for their personal, just to build up their personal repertoire, or whether they're speaking, whether they're being a thought leader at that particular event. Tagging us, letting us know that they're going to be there, allows us to promote that, to push that out, really allows us to help position them as a thought leader. We want you to be known within your discipline so that you have colleagues going to you as a resource, so that it helps spread the word about your book, about your message, about your idea. It's so important. So really, attending events, attending conferences, in whatever capacity you're able to do, sharing that information with us, talking about it on social media, really positions you as a thought leader, and that can help tremendously in a variety of ways.
Absolutely. And I want to do the flip side on that also. We talked about accomplishments. I want to share a big reveal. I didn't say it this plainly in the book, but I will say it now. When I looked at the data analytics for, advocacy organizations like a MoShape or a Shape America, what we found that the most engaged content that can be created, that is when you start to, do anything related to your teachers of the year, your administrators of the year. It's really interesting how we really connect with people that win awards. We want to learn more. We want to hear their backstory. In some cases, we want to learn about their why. For some of us, we want to know, like, what are they doing that's so different than maybe what I'm doing, that kind of thing. And all I can say is, I was very blessed last November to win a Scholar of the Year for Moshape. And it was partly in due to the fact of certainly releasing the textbook, because it's a book on advocacy and using a lot of things that we've been doing, but also for just the mere fact of just doing a broadcast like this and just continue to advocate on how you can leverage these tools to increase your influence, your impact, and your advocacy. And so, anyways, accomplishments is something that people really connect with. And Megan, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, just kind of from a behind the scenes sort of view of the corporate standpoint of social media management. When we share your accomplishments, for us, those are the posts that perform the best.
Yeah. Yes.
Because people care. And so, again,
absolutely. The next one, and you guys know this is why I wrote the book. I already talked to you about the work that I've done, with Missouri Healthy Schools, with Moshape and Shape America. In advocacy, one of the easiest ways to gain attention is to simply share success stories. That's why these short form videos that we've been doing at Missouri Healthy Schools, going into school districts, getting school administrators to go on camera and advocate for things such as health and physical education, or even, again, campaigns related to social, emotional well-being, mental health, sustainability. Obviously, there's more and more things that you can talk about, but all I can say is, the power is in those success stories. People want to know, especially in this COVID world we live in, how are you getting through? And that's why success stories are so important when you want to talk about what you can share. Megan, I'll also use this from your world of nutrition. That's also why when I did my research on the very first book I did, what was fascinating is what I found in the world of fitness management, and that is the best testimony you can have for people is pre and post photos of lifestyle change. That's why it's still so effective today. It's those success stories that we really connect to. And I can tell you this, whenever I see a story about a former football player who lost like 100 pounds, 150 pounds, I connect to it because I was a football player. And that's what's great about our stories. It allows us to connect. And surprisingly, the research would also tell us that people remember the facts of stories a lot better than stats and facts. They remember the details of the story a lot better. So anyways, I just thought that would be something interesting. And anything else, Megan, on the advocacy or success stories?
Absolutely. This is a great place to really give credit to your students.
Yeah.
In education, here's what my students accomplished.
Yep.
Here is, say you're in environmental science and an aspect of your course is climate change. My students went out and they planted a garden in the campus courtyard. Look what they did. And so student projects, anything like that, with their permission, of course, is great to post on social media.
Absolutely. And Megan, I'll just share this with you. Right around May time, I had two of my former student fellows. Both, one got married and the other just got their doctorate in physical therapy. And I had a picture of the three of us together and I put it out there. Oh my goodness, it went crazy on Facebook. I mean, it got hundreds of likes, a few shares, but I was so proud of them, what they did ever since graduation. So yeah, to your point, I do that a lot with our students. I'm so proud of students that I had in my classroom that's doing amazing things. And Lisa, that's a lot about what you've been talking about, how it's really easy to share, again, as a professor or as an educator, to share the success, of our colleagues or our students. And that's another reason why I love social media so much, because it's really easy and fun to do. So with that, we're coming down the home stretch. Stay with us, because I can promise you're going to be happy that you did. So what else do I share is we continue personal stories. I think we have hit that so hard. It is so important to tell those stories. Again, as an author, or fun facts about yourself, or if you're a leader, the same kind of thing. Those stories resonate. And why don't you talk to us about behind the scenes, because Megan, this is kind of a fun one.
Absolutely. Again, people like seeing the raw, authentic side of things. So if you've got a project in development, whether it's like a new book or an event that you're planning to show people what's going on behind the scenes, just finished, sending in page proofs, or wow, here's the, the backstage, lighting disaster at the moment. We got a lot of work to do, before this Saturday's event comes up. Any of that, people really like to see because it's raw and it's you.
Yeah, Megan, one of the coolest things that happened to us is when the zagging book that Lauren and I co-authored, our executive director at MoShape bought a book for everyone that's on our board of directors. That's 16 people. And we did actually a book signing. We used our athletic media backdrop at our university. People were taking photos, and then people were taking photos, and as we were not just just signing the books, but we knew who all the people were, and we were sending personal messages to every person that was receiving the book. I got to tell you, to your point, that behind the scenes, we captured some video, a lot of pictures, and anyways, it's just a really cool thing that you can do, especially again, once you get those new releases. That's really easy to do, going behind the scenes, which is one of my favorite. Okay, Megan, wow, we're about wrapping up on what to share. And that is, what do you mean by unique things about you?
Yeah, I think we have kind of hit this one just because it's so central. But what is it about you that makes you different, makes you unique? People want to know that. That's what's going to get you to stand out. Even if, again, to Lauren's point, you're of the opinion like, well, I really don't know what it is about me. It's you. And that's what people want to see.
Absolutely. And then the last one, and that is, what do I share? Again, update to book content. And also, again, if I'm an advocacy organization, it could be, hey, like right now, what are the standards, for physical education and health education. So when we say book content, it can be, any of your organizational content, but specific to book content, this is what I found really exciting. And Lisa, you and I talked about this a few days ago when we were preparing for the show. And that is what I love about the fact that I'm in social media. Those platforms change every 3 to 6 months. And one of the things that is starting this August for me is I'm going to be having the Zagging YouTube channel. And every time there's something significant change, I'm making a YouTube video. So all the people who've purchased the book or used the book, they're going to get updates. I'll reference on what page it is in the book, but then I'll go ahead and give them updates. I'll give you a simple one, would be analytics. So the chapter that I talk about data analytics, for example, YouTube now, instead of having just one central, dashboard, they now have it per 3 ways now. Number one, again, they have it for live. Number two, they have it for shorts. And number three, they have it for their long form videos. That is a big update that if you're using it, whether you're in Megan's position or Lisa in your position, you want to know that update because it's going to affect how you look at your different content and what's performing, how it's performing, and things like that. So that is something that will be coming out from me starting in August. So you can go straight to zagging. It's going to be related specifically to the book. It's all it's going to be. And yes, even on some of the assignments or projects that my students have to do, they actually have a course capstone project where they have to actually launch an advocacy campaign. I've already received permission for some of them where I've got their class presentations. So you can see what an outcome or an output would look like based on that assignment that I give. It's a really cool assignment on teaching students on how to create advocacy campaigns. So Lisa, as we're wrapping up on this content, what other suggestions or ideas do you have, again, as we talk about what are some things that authors could be doing to update their content using social media?
There are a number of things as they make updates. You mentioned touching on when they have new things coming down the pipeline and giving sneak peeks. As you make revisions, as you're going into that process, let your audience know, hey, I've got some new and exciting things coming down the pipeline, and then give them that sneak peek and then tie that back into what that content could be and what that's going to look like. Right. So really, I think just tying it into, it can be something as simple as when I'm going to do a revision. It can be something as putting a bow on all of this, when you're creating your content calendar and thinking about what I want to say for the week, I'm going to pull out this piece of information and I'm going to reference that as a point from the book. And I'm going to give little nuggets of information on the way about that particular point. to my audience throughout the week. So I think revisions, updates as they come down the pipeline, and then just pick a central point in your book and then give little nuggets of information about that point throughout the week or throughout the month.
That's awesome. So with that, for those of you who've been staying with us this whole time, we've got something really exciting, and we're going to go ahead and just quickly go through this recap. Obviously, we've already talked about this importance of add a personal touch. Maggie, you want to talk to the call to action?
Yeah, call to action. Basically, all that means is give people an easy track to get them where you want to go. And if that is to sign up for an event or to go find a link to your book, make it easy. The little tip here is leave a trail of breadcrumbs, kind of Hansel and Gretel style. Make your audience's job easy, whatever it is you want them to do. Put that loud and proud in every post. Hashtags. Guy, what are your thoughts on those?
Well, all I can say is hashtags is the way that we do searches. And I want to tell you guys a very profound story. And for those of you that might be still on, that are involved in advocacy organizations, I really hope you pay attention to what I'm about to say. We spent, when I say we, Shape America, we just had our national convention in New Orleans a few months ago. And we worked 5 months as a team on trying to figure out how we can take that hashtag Shape NOLA that we've been using ever since that date was first announced. So basically for a year, we've been promoting it. And through strategic planning and execution on all these different aspects that we actually use in our best practices, they're there. We're using the same best practices in practice as we're telling you to do. And let me tell you the results of that. This was historic. This was epic. This is the one that left me speechless. It was ironic. I was doing a session on zagging at the time. All of a sudden I get a text. I never would take a text from anyone except from one person. You know, that's the person that I report to on social media for covering the event. So I get this text. I knew it would be something important. Next thing you know, I find out that the Shape NOLA hashtag is trending #1 on Twitter in the city of New Orleans. Trending #1. So all the work we've done for 5 months, all the planning, all the executing, and the best part is it's not so much about what Shape America did. It's really about what the attendees, and even if you weren't there, you felt like you're there because we were putting out so much content that you felt part of it, and people were just creating. It's called UGC, user generated content, using that hashtag, and for us to be trending #1 in New Orleans at a national convention. Are you kidding me? It's really changed. And I got to try to figure out a formula of how that even happened. But I can tell you that we'll go into the next book. And so anyways, hashtags, I'm just going to say this. Recommendations. I think if you're on Twitter, you need to have a minimum of 2, 3 most. The reason being is you need one for, your campaign. Like for me, I use Zag Talk Podcast. I use zagging. But I think, again, in the world of advocacy, you pick the campaign you want. You can pick one related to your organization. Certainly, if you're an author, you have one for your book. For me, I use zagging all the time, and it makes it very easy to go ahead and do that. Sorry about that. Let me go back. Just a different screen view. Move this over. Okay. And so then when I talk about hashtags, again, it's the easiest way for people to jump into the conversations. That's really all I can say about that. It's so simple, but you want to use them. Now, they used to stay on Instagram. Again, this is another reason why I got to do this update on the book, right? Because at that time, they were saying, hey, you got to use up to 30. You got to use 20 to 30. Here's what the results say. Here's what the data analytics say. Guess what Instagram's saying today? Just use 5. That's what I use. I use 5 now. Why? Because again, the platforms have shifted and changed. But hashtags is one of the easiest ways to jump in the conversations and also to create an awful lot of brand awareness. So with that, that's a really good one. And then why don't you talk to us about the tagging part? Because that's a big part of what you do. And certainly you've been tagging your authors, so why don't you, Megan, kind of shed us some light on that?
Again, a great way to think about tagging is basically It's getting in someone's social media inbox. It's raising your hand and saying, hey, notice me. And so when you tag an organization, this is a great way to use that micro-influencer sort of principle. If you're in biology and you find biology organizations, if you tag them, that is a great way to potentially get yourself in front of their audience. And so if there's an applicable organization, find out what their tag is, add it to your post.
Absolutely. And the last one is follow others. And Megan, tell us why we want to follow others.
Again, it's that networking principle. When you follow others, frequently they're going to follow you back. But even if you don't, you are still expanding your horizons, figuring out what other people in your sphere are doing, what the conversation is, how you can be a part of it. And so, Guy, any final kind of sentiments on that?
Well, I think, again, this is how you build relationships. I can't tell you, I've met some amazing people simply through Twitter. That's all I can tell you. I got some direct messages from people that might have saw a piece of content I posted, or sometimes I see content that they post. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. I want to learn more about it. I send a direct message. Next thing you know, we connect. So all I can say is if you want to connect with me, all I can tell you is if you want to keep learning more about tips, tricks, and hacks using social media for advocacy, feel free to follow me on Twitter at Guy Danhoff. It's that simple. That'd be the best platform to follow me. Feel free to do that right now. But I want to take some time right now and give some massive shout outs because the love has been pouring in. Darcy, I don't know you, but you know what? Please send me, if you're on Twitter, send me a message. I want to get to know you because I love what you just said. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just heard about this webinar today. See? Told you my crazy photo wasn't so bad. I'm kidding. I don't know where she saw it. And wasn't sure what to expect. Totally worth every minute. Thank you, bunches. Darcy, no, seriously, thank you. You just made our day.
100%.
Here's another one coming in. Thank you, everyone. Really valuable session. And again, it's just so cool. Hey, Samantha Klaus is it? Okay, sorry on her. I had her in class. I've been teaching 14 years. I had her in class my very first 2 years. This is the first time on a social media experience that I have ever interacted with her. All right, all I can say is, Sam, you are the best. Here we go. We got another one. It keeps coming in. We're loving the love right here. Great insights and absolutely. And here we go, Linda. You've been very instrumental because you have asked some really great questions. And listen, for all you that are on, I want to turn the platform over to Megan because she's got a big announcement that's going to be made right now. And let me go ahead and flip the script. And here we go.
I sure do. If you are really liking what you're hearing tonight, guess what? It is all consolidated in a really great resource. I have actually read a very sizable chunk of Guy's book, and it's written for beginners. It's great. If you are wondering where you should be, if you're trying to find your audience, if you are looking for best practices, if you're looking for data and just want some really grounding principles, this is a great resource. And Lisa, I think you've got kind of a special announcement about the Zagging book tonight. Am I right?
I do. As a thank you and just to show our appreciation to our audience for hanging with us and for listening to all of the tremendous nuggets of information that Guy and Megan have passed your way, we want to give away a copy of the book that contains, as Megan said, further detail on what you've heard tonight, but even more resources, tips and tricks and information. We want to give a copy away. All you have to do is answer the trivia question that's going to be at the bottom of your screen. Hold, please.
Okay, the first one to respond with the correct answer wins, and I will read it. What is our most recommended best practice using social media that delivers instant results?
Love it. Love it. Love it. First one that answers correctly in the comments, go leave your email address. We'll make sure you get a copy of Guy's book. I can't tell you it's how much of an impact it's had on us. And we know how much of an impact it's going to have on you as well. This is fun, Guy, Megan. I like this. We got to do more of these.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Let's see if there's is that the right answer? Is that the
It
right answer? Hang on. Let me see. And hold on. I got to go actually in order. Um, hold on here. I gotta hold on. There's so many answers. Hold on. I got to see the very first one that came out. Here it is right here. This was the fastest one to respond. And let's check the answer. And the survey says, boom, you are the winner. So if you could, yes, absolutely. Big round of applause. And just want to say thank you so much. And go ahead and put your, hold on, let me bring that back up. If you go ahead and then just, you know, give us your email address, and that way Lisa can go ahead and send you the book. And thank you so much. As how exciting is that, again, you just picked up a free copy of my book. But Megan, are there other ways that people can also get the book?
Yeah, absolutely. If you either follow the link on this page or you scan the QR code, you can go to the Kendall Hunt website. It'll take you directly there, and you can pick up a copy there as well. Again, it's a really great resource. I highly recommend. It's in my personal library.
Yeah, and Megan, we just got this come through as well. This event will certainly be a great ROI for me, my co-author, and my book, How to Study a Language. Bobby, thank you so much for sharing that. Exactly. Again, if you want to connect with me, you want to know some of the more tips and tricks and hacks to this whole thing of social media on how you can promote and get more word out about your book. Again, you can reach out to Megan or myself, because I'm glad to help anyone who's been part of tonight. And so with that, I just want to say thank you. But I also like to always leave my broadcast with always one more thing. So I want to talk about what's coming up next.
Absolutely.
So the next broadcast will be this Sunday night. And it's going to be at 8 o'clock Central, a little different change time, 8 o'clock Central. And I'm going to have with me the 2022 Shape America Health Education Teacher of the Year, Jessica Matheson, from the state of Minnesota. And all I can say is we're really going to dive into something so absolutely amazing. And we're going to be talking about her journey as an educator, as well as some things that have recently happened, some changes in her life. We'll have, again, our typical Zag Bombs. And there's Jessica. Hey, you're still on. How about that? Yeah, big thumbs up. Jessica, you never miss an opportunity. That's what I love about you. But it's going to be real cool. And then also, I don't have a graphic for this, but then 2 weeks from this Sunday, I'm going to be joined with Michelle Huff out of New Jersey, and we're going to be doing a session on. It's going to be titled TikTok for Beginners. So that's going to be really, 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 really cool. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, Jessica, you betcha. Absolutely. And so that's going to be the next two Zag Talk podcasts. Again, I'll be live with Jessica as she's going to be unpacking what it's like being a national teacher of the year. She also just got back from spending a week with all these teachers of the year in San Diego. And again, congratulations, Jessica, and certainly to the class of 2022 for Shape America, and cannot wait to go. Yeah, there you go. Toy time. Yeah, teacher of the year time. Exactly. So with that, I just want to let you guys know, you'll see all kinds of, announcements coming out for me, on that. And yeah, there you go. How about Darcy? TikTok for Beginners. You are talking my language. Darcy, I know that you just told me because I just saw it in the chat. I didn't post it yet. Here it is. She finally found me on Twitter. Again, already making connection. I don't know who Darcy is. She now has learned a little bit more about me, but Darcy, exactly. In 2 weeks, we'll be going TikTok for Beginners, and I cannot wait for you to engage in that broadcast. So with that, I want to flip it over to now Lisa and Megan kind of for the final word, and certainly is a great way to connect with Kendall Hunt directly.
Absolutely. And as we say goodnight to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. Yes, the answer to like our big, what do we, recommend is repurpose, because that's huge. But kind of from a more fluffy perspective, our kind of final sentiment is have fun as you are exploring social media, whether you've been on there already or you're new to it, because if you're not have fun, people are going to know. you're doing it wrong. I don't want to make a judgment statement, but you're doing it wrong. So embrace the learning process, be personal. And if we pop it back up to that slide, if you follow that QR code that's on that final slide, or you follow the link, what that's going to do is that's going to take you to a Kendall Hunt form, and you can kind of sign up to say, hey, I'm interested in more information about how I can use social media to make a powerful influence, of how I can continue to promote my work and myself in order to make an impact. And we will be providing you with some more information. So again, thank you everyone so much for joining us tonight. Lisa, do you have any final words for us?
No, I just appreciate the time. So nice to chat with all of you and to spend my time with Guy and Megan. It is always a pleasure. I always learn something. So thank you both, and look forward to chatting with you again soon.
All right. You've been watching it live right here. The replay will be available shortly. For Lisa Sabers and Megan Peterman, my name is Guy Neff. We want to thank you for watching it all right here live on the Zag Talk podcast. Have a great night, and thank you.